Cannibalism. In many cultures, cannibalism is a ritualized custom, symbolizing the absorption of the victim's vital essence, their power, their intelligence, or forestalling any type of magical revenge for someone who had been murdered. And ancient fears about being consumed or eaten is reflected throughout tales of giants and witches, and a number of mythological stories begin with talking about cannibalism. We can easily reflect on the story of the Greek Titan, Kronos, who swallowed all of his children at birth. The story of Hansel and Gretel reflects the same concepts of cannibalism, but in a much more childish setting. But still, the same idea is reflected about the culture of witches. The story of Akasha, which made its way into modern films, was that of a Sumerian and later Egyptian queen who became a vampire, which is what we remember about her. But the start of that story is her battling against the cannibals that were still prevalent in many parts of Africa. We have to remember that the two sister witches, Marhet and Makare, were arrested for consuming their mother and eating her brain, again, wanting to gain her strength and her knowledge that they thought would rightfully pass to them. There are passages in the Bible. I think in Jeremiah, this passage says, I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and their daughters, and they will eat each other's flesh, because their enemies will press the siege so hard against them to destroy them. Can look at the works of Homer, who attested to the mention of cannibalism in Western tradition, mainly in his description of the Cyclops, who were seen as eating human flesh and were clearly viewed as inhuman, but also huge, monstrous, ugly, barbarous, wild, and lawless. They were uncivilized. They had no knowledge of agriculture and ignorant to proper table manners that would reflect a civilized being. Medieval Icelandic mythology was no different. It's filled with sagas of giants who are described as awkward, evil, uncivilized, and characteristically, their main sources of food were horse meat and then ultimately human flesh. If we look at modern storytelling, it gets even deeper. We have countless stories. Jeffrey Dahmer and Hannibal Lecter are always at the top of the movie charts when we release stories about cannibalism. And it brings up memories of other cannibals, including Albert Fish and Boone Helm and many others. Even in modern stories like the Conan series, in both of those stories, they are integral with cannibalism. Thulsa Doom, Conan's primary opponent in Conan the Barbarian, and then later when he goes to associate with his wizard friend, they stop him from being eaten by cannibals. Also within the Greek story of Perseus, the Stygian witches were also shown to be cannibals. So our ideas, fascination, and revulsion with cannibalism still exist, but yet cannibalism remains a very stalwart and steady part of human culture. Whether we will ever truly be free of this, we'll never know, which is why it's important to study it and see where those stories resurface.